Welcome to the next installment of the Train Vicar. Today I'll talk about something quite local, namely about the upgrade of some level crossings in northern Christchurch here in New Zealand. In the northern suburbs of Christchurch, the Northern Line cycleway runs alongside the main North Railway line, which goes on to Rangiora and Picton and so on. By now this cycleway runs from Riccarton to just north of Redwood. This is not just used by bikes, but also by people walking, running and scootering. And because it's away from the roads and offers a more direct connection than many roads do, it's actually quite well used. There are also a few schools along the way, so it's popular with school children and their parents. When the railway line and cycleway cross a busy road, there's normally a level crossing for the railway line and pedestrian traffic lights for bikes and people on foot. That makes it safe to let children use the Northern Line cycleway. Well, in fact, safer, more convenient and faster for all users of the cycleway. But there are a few busy roads which do not have signalised crossings for cyclists and pedestrian. As a result, it was quite difficult and dangerous to cross those roads. I still remember asking a member of the community board why there were no crossings on those busy roads. He told me that it had something to do with Kiwi Rail, that the signalling infrastructure was not quite up to date and so on. But he promised that the community board would be continuing to advocate for those crossings to be signalised. By early 2024, the rails of the crossing near the church were quite loose and trains had to slow down for that section. So it was really high time for some action. Well, in September 2024, the road was closed for a month or so and a new level crossing installed. That included a new concrete section for the crossing itself, and it seems that was poured there, and the railway line was blocked for 3 days to get that in. Then the pedestrian crossing sections were lifted in place. The tracks either side were reconnected and strengthened, and pedestrian lights were also installed. So soon it was time for the trains to roll again. And while the warning lights for the railway crossing were working, the traffic lights to allow pedestrians and cyclists to cross the road were not yet in operation. In November 2024, there was some more action. Cables were laid along the railway line with diggers excavating trenches, and well, there was generally a lot of activity. The stillness of the graveyard was somewhat disturbed by all that plastic casing and the frequent traffic to get those lines in. And then things became quiet again. Not much happened until July 2025. Finally, axle counters were installed, the signalling connected and the new system commissioned. And one morning the traffic lights across the roads were finally working. For me, that is a relief. My children can more easily get from school and the bus to home and vice versa. We can get to the shops and the library more easily. When I'm out on my bike seeing parishioners or getting around the neighborhood, I can now cross the road safely. Parishioners have it easier to get to church and then also to walk to their favorite cafe afterwards. Further signalling upgrades along the line will allow better train control between Addington and Belfast. Now, even though there are not enough crossing loops, this is one of the technical upgrades that might allow more train movements and therefore basic suburban rail service for Christchurch. I have witnessed the considerable work that went into making the traffic lights for cyclists and pedestrians a reality. It wasn't as easy as I first thought, but it seems that persistence has paid off and finally the traffic lights are working. It reminded me that many things take their time. That is also true in other areas of life. And for example, Christians also have to learn that some things do not happen immediately, but rather in due time. After all, patience is one of the fruits of the Spirit.